Here we are at school drop-off outside school.
See what the morning gloriously bright, with the dawning of hope in Jerusalem. Forward at the grave closed tomb filled with light, as the angels announce Christ is risen. See God's salvation plan, wrought in love, born in pain, paid in sacrifice, fulfilled in Christ the man, for he is Christ is risen from the dead.
See Mary weeping, where is he laid? As in sorrow she turns from the empty tomb. Here's a voice speaking, calling her name. It's the Master, the Lord raised to life again.
The voice that stirs the ears, speaking life, stirring hope, bringing peace to us, will sound till he appears, for he is Christ is risen from the dead. One with the Father, ancient of days, through the Spirit who calls faith with sanctity. Honor and blessing, glory and praise to the King, crowned with power and authority. And we are raised with him, death is done, love is won, Christ is conquered. And we shall reign with him, for he is Christ is risen from the dead. And we are raised with him, death is dead, love is won, Christ is conquered. And we shall reign with him, for he is Christ is risen from the dead.
So, hi there, everybody. So, I'm here with my friend Rev Alex, who is vicar of,
St George Sheldon and St Peter's Tollcross.
and you can't really see it, it's just behind the trees over there, but maybe we'll show you the church a bit later on. So, we're actually at Sheldon Country Park. I don't know if you've been to Sheldon Country Park. It's a really exciting place because there's lots of things to do. So normally when there isn't a pandemic going on, you can go and visit some farm animals. So what have they got in here? They've got some
They've got
cows.
cows in the sheds. They've got pigs, baby pigs, some ducks, goats, and donkeys.
Donkeys. So the donkeys is why we're here. I'm hoping that we're going to see some donkeys a bit later on, but I forgot to bring the carrots. So I don't know if that's going to work. I can see some horses here. Haven't seen any donkeys yet, so I'm still looking around. We're trying to find out where where the donkeys might be. Maybe they haven't come out yet. So I'll just keep my eye open. Still looking. So we're here to talk about Palm Sunday and all the events that happened in the run up to Easter. So there's a story, isn't there, about Jesus and a donkey on Palm Sunday. So I think that the setting was that he'd gone to Jerusalem with his friends, his disciples, and they were going to celebrate the special feast called the Passover. I think they went and asked someone for a donkey, and he said, "What are you doing?" And they said, "The master sent us."
Yeah.
And then they got the donkey, didn't they? And then Jesus rode into Jerusalem on the donkey. That's a strange thing to do, isn't it? I wonder why.
And
why
everybody
do you
was
think he did that?
waving.
Yeah, everybody was
all
waving. Yeah, so
cheering
actually,
him on.
yeah, that's true. So I've got some things that some props here. So people threw down their coats in front of the donkey as Jesus was riding it, and they were waving palms. So he was kind of saying, "I'm a king, but I'm a different kind of king. I'm not the same kind of king that's going to come along with all my power and threaten you and bully you. I'm a king that wouldn't ride on a war horse, but just on a humble
Little
donkey."
donkey.
Yeah, so I imagine it probably upset a few people. Do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah.
So
They were very happy.
yeah, it was sort of making a bit of drawing attention to himself,
Yeah.
and not everyone, of course, believed that he was going to be king. So people threw their coats down in front of him, and they threw palm leaves. So palm leaves grow on palm trees. We make these special palm crosses, which we wave around as we sing on Palm Sunday,
Yep,
don't we?
yep.
So in the past, you've had a donkey in
We
your
have.
church, haven't you?
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
So we invited the donkeys over. We had 2 donkeys and they came into church and we read part of the Bible story, and then we walked all the way around the church, round the car park and back into church. And the donkeys were really good.
That's good. Did they
Yeah.
want to do it, or
Yeah,
were they
no.
stubborn? Did they stop and say, "I'm
They,
not moving"?
they did stop a couple of times, but
Did they?
we coaxed them along with
with carrots.
With carrots.
So I thought about doing that at St Margaret's Church, and we did actually have a donkey, and we went around the outside of the church, but I didn't want to bring it in case it pooed and weed in the church. Did that happen in your church?
No,
It
they
did.
were good
No,
donkeys.
they were good donkeys. Well, that's good. So sometimes you have a donkey in church. Would you do it again?
Yes, we'd definitely do it again.
Oh, we finally got some donkeys. There's some donkeys in the background. It's there. Look at those donkeys go. Yeah. So then we get into the week where we remember the last week of Jesus' life. So here we are at St Giles Church. It's a really old church. Now, Alex, how old did you say this church is?
Part of this church are about 700 years old.
Wow, 700 years old.
Yeah.
So that's much older than St Margaret's. St Margaret's is about 140 years old, but 700 years old, that really is a very old church. But you think there's been a church here for longer than that?
They say there's been a church here for about 1,000 years. Yeah.
So it's 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
So how long ago did Jesus live?
2,000.
2,000. So sort of halfway back to the time of Jesus.
yeah.
That's amazing, isn't it, if you think about it? So well, let's look at the church. This is fantastic, isn't it? Alex, there's a strange little window here. It's about the size of a sort of an envelope or something. What's that for?
Yeah, that's called the leper's squint. And there's glass there at the moment, but there wouldn't have been many, many years ago. And people who had leprosy or were ill or sick wouldn't have been allowed into church, not like now where everybody can come into
Yeah.
church. They would have had to sit outside and just look through that little window, and when the priest had communion, then he would just pass it through the window for them.
This is a bit like sort of lockdown in the olden
Yeah, a
days.
bit like lockdown in
So
the early years.
they could have had we could introduce these little windows so people could stay outside and we could still carry on with
That's
church when
right,
there's
yeah,
lockdown. Yeah,
keep them out there.
yeah. And then what happens on Maundy Thursday in your church?
So Monday, Thursday, we would have a service where we'd take all the coverings off the church, and so it wouldn't look so pretty, and cover things up. And then we would all get together and have a meal as well.
Yeah,
So the 2 churches would get together and we'd have a meal, and then we'd go home quietly
yeah,
to prepare ourselves then for Good Friday.
yeah. We do that. It's quite a special service, isn't
Yeah.
it? So it's quite dramatic. Everyone just leaving in silence at
That's
the end
it,
of the
yeah.
service. So Maundy Thursday is when we remember the Last Supper that Jesus had with his disciples.
Yeah.
So he had this special Passover meal, and the Passover meal was to celebrate when his people, the Jewish people, managed to escape from slavery in Egypt all those centuries before. And I think they'd have a special meal with lamb and other things. But he said some special words, didn't he, in his Passover meal. So what happened at the Passover meal?
Jesus told them to remember him when he's not here anymore.
Yeah,
You know, to do this together, to share a meal together
yeah,
as friends,
yeah.
which is what we try and remember on the Thursday
Yes.
evening as the church gets together.
That's right, yes. So that's why most Sundays in church we do something called Holy Communion, and we pass around some bread wafers, don't we? Because Jesus said, "This is my body which is broken for you. Do
Yeah.
this in remembrance of me." And so we pass around the bread, and then Jesus said some strange words. And he got some red wine, I presume it was red wine,
Yes.
and he said, "This is my blood which is poured out for you." And then he passed it round to all his disciples.
Yeah.
And so we all share from a cup. I
Wonderful.
don't know when we're going to be able to do that again.
Well,
With sharing from the same cup, it seems like a long time
it
ago since
certainly
we've done
does
that,
seem
doesn't
long
it?
time ago.
So that's what happened on Maundy Thursday. But something else happened on Maundy Thursday, and he had a bit of an argument with his disciples, didn't he? Actually, because he wanted to wash their feet.
Yep.
So why did he do that? Why do people wash their feet in that country?
Well, normally because they're full of dust.
Yeah,
They wouldn't
so-
have worn nice shoes like we are. They
No,
would have had
sandals.
sandals on, and
Yeah,
their feet
dusty
be
roads.
dusty and smelly, and it's something a servant would do, not
Not
Jesus.
not someone who's the king.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just ridden in on a donkey.
Yeah. So he had an argument with his friend Peter, didn't he? And Peter said, "Well, don't wash my feet. You shouldn't be doing that." And Jesus said, "You need." I think he basically said, "You need to do it," doesn't he?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Peter said, well, "Okay, wash the whole of me then." So I think he's trying to be a bit cocky.
Yeah.
And anyway, he let Jesus wash his feet, didn't he? So sometimes on Maundy Thursday, well, usually we wash people. We have some volunteers to have their feet washed.
Yeah.
People don't really like having their feet washed
No, they
nowadays,
don't.
do they?
No.
Do you do that in your church?
No.
Do you not?
No.
No. So we have a foot washing service, and you have to really persuade people.
Yeah.
It is a bit
we
yucky
do.
because some people have verrucas and things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like taking
And
washing.
they don't like us doing it.
No. Yeah. But it shows that Jesus was prepared to be humble and to do sort of
Absolutely,
humble.
yeah.
I mean, it's like kind of in a care home, you'd have to help
Yeah.
elderly people to go to the toilet and that
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of thing. It's that kind of thing,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
And
And I reckon that's Peter's feet.
yeah, I think you're probably right. There's like a couple of bishops have got in there as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's snuck in.
Snuck in. Yeah. So how many?
That's St Giles.
St Giles. Oh, is it? Okay. So it's looking like it's going to rain in a minute. I hope we don't get too wet. So it was the end of the Passover meal. Jesus went out, and he had actually before he went, he said that one of his disciples was going to betray him, and he left early. That disciple was called Judas, wasn't he?
And on the right-hand side, your right-hand side, we can
Yeah.
see Judas there. with
Which
his
one's
bag.
Judas? Can you just point to him?
Him.
Ah, yes, I see. Yeah, look, he's looking a bit shifty there, isn't he?
He was the accountant, the treasurer who held all the money.
Yeah, we've got a very good accountant at St Margaret's Church. I
And we
wouldn't.
have.
And then Jesus went out to the Mount of Olives to pray. I've got some photos of the Mount of Olives because I went there once. And then various things happened. Jesus got very upset because he knew that he was going to suffer a lot over the next day. And he prayed that he wouldn't have to, but then he came to the conclusion that that's what God wanted him to do. So he was going to be faithful and he was going to do it. He said, "Not my will, but yours." He also said to his friend, his disciple Peter, that before the cock crows, which is kind of that's how they had alarm clocks in those days. So basically, before the morning, you will have denied me. So this was Jesus' best friend.
Yeah, and he loved him, didn't he?
Yeah, and Peter was saying, "I'll never abandon you. I'll never treat you badly." And Jesus said, "Well, actually, before the morning, before the cock crows, you will have betrayed me 3 times." I think he said. So that happened. Later on, Jesus got arrested, and he was taken before the high priest. Peter was hiding away somewhere, and someone recognised him and said, "Hey, you're from Galilee. You're one of Jesus' friends." And Peter said, "No, nothing to do with me." And he did deny him, didn't he? And he got very upset about that afterwards because he really felt like he betrayed Jesus. So Jesus had a series of meetings. Well, he was arrested and he was taken to see various people overnight. He was taken to see the high priest. He was taken to see Pilate, the Roman governor. He was taken to see King Herod, who wasn't a good guy, was he? He was quite a nasty one. In the morning, he was sentenced to death, and he was to die on a cross. And so Good Friday is the day when we remember Jesus dying on the cross, isn't it? So what do you do on Good Friday morning to start off with, to remember these things?
So we'll start in church,
Yeah.
and a group of us will have morning prayer,
Yeah,
and then we'll all have a cup of tea and a tea cake.
Yeah.
And then we will walk from church up to the local shops, and on the way we'll pick up other people from different churches along the way, so we form a big group of different faiths and reach the shops up at the Wheat Sheaf.
that sounds good.
Yeah, that's good. And we'll have a little open air service there,
Yeah.
and sing some songs.
And I can see here that you've got a wooden cross. Is this what you use on your procession?
Yes.
When you walk up?
Carried that.
Yeah, so someone carries that. Do you carry that?
Yeah.
You?
Sometimes.
that's
We have
very
got a
impressive.
smaller one, 'cause
Yeah. I don't have to carry it in my church. I've got a lad that will do that for me. So this procession, this walk of witness that we do, remembers the fact that Jesus had to walk quite a long way carrying his cross to the place where he was crucified, to the place where he died. And various things happened along the way, like there was a man called Simon of Cyrene who helped him carry the cross for a while.
Then we'll come back and church will be open between 2 and 3. We'll have a service where we normally extinguish candles. So we're preparing for 3 o'clock, which is the time that they say Jesus died. And then the last candle's put out at 3 o'clock, and we will go home quietly.
So this picture here shows Jesus on the cross when he was crucified. In fact, it shows a couple of things. It shows Jesus carrying the cross on the left-hand side. And then it shows Jesus when he was nailed to the cross and when he died on the cross. And some of his friends are there around him. And then on the right-hand side, you can see a couple of women, and there's 3 crosses in the background because there were 2 people who were criminals, weren't there, who were crucified on either side of Jesus. And actually, Jesus said something amazing to one of those criminals, sometimes called thieves in the Bible. He said because one of them was making fun of Jesus because the crowds were jeering and it was a bit of a joke for a lot of people. But the other criminal said, "No, this man hasn't done anything wrong." And Jesus turned to him and said, "Today you'll be with me in paradise." And he was basically saying, "You're coming to heaven with me," which must have been a really encouraging thing to hear for the other man who was also dying next to Jesus. I'm guessing that these other 2 women, no, I tell you who I think, it's not 2 women at all.
No.
I think it's Mary and John,
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah.
So
The
John,
disciple took her to his own home.
yes, exactly. So as well as Peter, Jesus had another friend who was called John, one of his close friends. And Jesus looked at his mum, and the mum's wearing the blue dress there. And he said, "Look, John can be your son from now on." And John sort of like basically became his son and looked after her, so Jesus didn't have to worry. And then Saturday is a very quiet day.
Yeah, it's a
not
quiet
much happens
day.
on Saturday.
No.
Yeah, we just wait, and we remember that Jesus was in the grave. He died on Friday, and he was in the grave for 3 days, and then we get to Easter Sunday. So so what happens on Easter Sunday?
So Easter Sunday, we have a service that starts when the sun rises. So
What time is that?
Well, it has been 5:30 in the
Wow,
morning.
5:30 in the morning. So
Yeah. So we'll have a big piece of fire, and we'll light our new Paschal candle from that.
and then here we've
And
got
that's the
Paschal candle. So that's a special candle that we light on Easter Day. Yeah.
And we'll take it into church, which is dark, and then Jesus, as the light of the world, comes into church, and we have our first service at 6 o'clock, which would have been a Holy Communion service. And then we'll probably have a family service at 10 o'clock, and that will be followed by an Easter egg hunt.
This is quite
And they'll
exciting.
come up and ring the
Yeah, look at
bell.
this. Look, going up into the tower.
Does it say?
So we're up in the tower. Wow, that's a great view of the church from up here. And then this fabulous window. So, Alex, so you tell me that there's a bat. You've got a bat in your tower.
We have.
Where is it?
I don't know. I want him to come down. Thank you very much.
So the reason we've come up here is because there's this amazing window which tells the story of the resurrection. So just talk me through what's going on in this window here. So we've got some women
Yeah, so
on
these
the
are
left.
the ladies that came to the tomb
Yeah.
on the Sunday morning, and they noticed that the gate, the entrance to the tomb was
Stone had been rolled away. Yeah,
And as they went in, they saw an angel.
yeah. So, and he said that Jesus isn't here anymore.
Yeah, he's not here anymore, so they wanted to know where they'd taken him.
Yeah. And this one of the ladies here,
Yeah.
isn't it? What's her name?
Mary Magdalene. So she was in her garden and she saw this man, and she wanted to know where they had taken Jesus' body. She didn't recognise at that point that was Jesus who'd appeared to
So
her.
she thought he was the gardener.
She thought he was the gardener.
Yes.
But you can see on his hands there as well.
Oh, yeah. So he's got the marks from his crucifixion, and there's a bit of a clue that he's got a halo as well.
Yeah.
But maybe she couldn't see that at the time. And so behind the angel there is kind of, you can see just the 3 crosses
Yeah.
up there where Jesus was crucified,
Yeah.
and then a bit of a cave where Jesus' body was laid. And so that's an amazing window. Let me just.
And we are raised with him, dead to death, love has won, Christ has conquered. And we shall reign with him, for Christ is risen from the dead. And we are raised with him, dead to death, love has won, Christ has conquered. And we shall reign with him, for Christ is risen from the dead.